a licensed clinical psychologist and relationship expert. We'll tackle the real issues that families face. Straight talk, expert advice, and live call-ins. Got questions? We've got answers. Tune in and let's build stronger families together. Family Matters, this and every Thursday on Praise 87.9 FM.
8 o'clock in the morning is right start on a Thursday morning, starting your day with a smile. It's Family Matters with Dr. Cheyenne O'Connor and Sophia Hamilton this morning, and we don't have Miss Joan Latty this morning. This morning we're going to be talking about election in the family. Next time.
But you know that's good morning, everybody. Open trust. You had a good night last night. I know some people didn't have a good night at all last night. Some people had a great night last night. Some people slept well. Some people didn't sleep.
Yeah. Some people are up until way in the morning.
Yeah, there you go. But it is a relevant topic. Dealing with family matters, the idea of politics in the family, because it is a very relevant and practical topic, because of course families, politics takes root in family units.
Yes,
it's interesting that there are some family members who are completely 100% in one party, and there are other families who are split.
Yes.
Husband votes one way, wife votes another way, children vote a third way.
You know what is very, very interesting?
Yes.
It's very, very interesting. At home, we don't discuss politics.
And that happens there are some rules. Some people have that rule that they don't discuss politics or religion in their home.
For me, it's one of those rules, unsaid rules. So I don't even know who Katie voted for.
Oh wow. Yeah, in my house it's a different thing. We discuss politics. We will look at the candidates. We will look at the performances of especially those that are the incumbent candidates, because they would have a track record. And I think when people are voting, you must vote intelligently. Yeah, look at especially those who are in office.
Yes,
whether you're satisfied with what they have done, and if you're not satisfied, then choose somebody else. If you are satisfied, then you go ahead and and choose those you think have done a good job. So it's a subject matter that we will discuss
another time.
Yeah,
4 years from
but interestingly, the Sophie, you're quite around here. You don't seem to participate much in politics, but it's an interesting situation politically that we woke up with this morning.
Yes. It looks quite like 2021.
Yeah, very much almost identical in terms of the makeup, because there's no clear political leadership with regards to one party getting the majority seat. And I think, again, the horse trading is going to take place as it did the last time. And so I was listening to some comments on Radio Cayman yesterday, and speaking to the effects, to the situation where here in Cayman we're still short of having mature political process.
Yes.
And that is to say, our political parties are very young and have not yet put together some of the requirements that are necessary for them to function effectively. And so we end up with situations like these each election. But it is interesting. We'll see what happens. We don't have an opportunity, for example, for the people in the Cayman Islands to choose who they wish to have as premier. That's something that needs to be looked at.
Yes.
Because even though you choose your representative in your particular area, a member of parliament does not necessarily mean a good member of parliament does not necessarily mean a good premier.
Yes.
So the political system does not allow us to
And
choose.
then anybody can be.
And then anybody can
Yes.
be. You know.
The only hope that we have is that God sets up kings.
And takes them down. Precisely.
So
Precisely.
whoever becomes the king,
Precisely.
God had something to do with that.
Precisely. And we wish.
No matter it looks.
Yes, we a lot of church folks have prayed about this election because we need to pray about the
Yes.
election, that the Lord will have His way in the process, and we hope and trust that a good team will
Yes, yes,
will emerge,
yes,
and we throw our full weight behind the leadership
yes.
of our island, and hopefully we have another wonderful 4 years ahead
And
of us.
whether we trust them or not, let's just trust God.
Yeah, we trust God, precisely.
Yes.
Precisely.
So we're not talking about politics in the family. We're talking about romance. Romance in the
Yeah.
family.
Yeah.
And immediately Sophia got cold.
So we're looking at how do we build intimacy in the family. And intimacy is a broad word, you know. When it is used, many times people's mind rush straight to sexual intimacy. But it is much broader than sexual intimacy. You can have what I would refer to more as emotional intimacy. You have financial intimacy. You have spiritual intimacy, yeah? And then you have sexual intimacy. And the question is, how do we build cohesion, emotional cohesion, emotional togetherness, spiritual togetherness, financial togetherness in the family? Right? Because if we limit intimacy only to sex, then we're dealing with, in the family, you're dealing with probably just husband and wife.
Yes.
And so that's just one aspect of intimacy. How do we build intimacy with our children, for example? How do we build cohesion with our children in the family? Because you do have families in which there may be sexual intimacy between husband and wife, but there's no connection with children. And so we want to take that concept outside of the realm of just sexuality and look at a broader perspective of how do we build that kind of emotional connection between family members, husband and wife, parents and children, brothers and sisters. And that's where we want to probably focus our attention this morning.
The numbers to call, let me just tell you right now, the numbers are 945-9029. That's 945-9029. Or you can send me a WhatsApp or a text to 517-1122. That's 345-517-1122. Or you could send your messages on our YouTube channel, CIC Media KY. CIC Media KY. All right, we're dealing with intimacy in the family. You know, it's very important that, Dr. O'Connor, you brought in the different stages of intimacy, the different areas of intimacy, because the moment you say that, average person will just think the bedroom.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it is not.
Yes.
It is not.
So much more than that.
It is so much more
So,
than
yeah.
that. Yes.
You know what is I've learned this from earlier, that, and from a man's perspective, intimacy in terms of husband and wife, bedroom, whatever, intimacy, that part of it, is easier when you have mastered the other intimacy
Yes.
areas.
Precisely so. Precisely so. In other words, intimacy outside the bedroom, right?
Yes, yes.
Seeks to foster intimacy
In the
inside the
bed, yes,
bedroom.
yes.
Yes. In fact, intimacy outside the bedroom really should lead to intimacy inside the bedroom. And that's a very deep observation that you have made, and
Yes.
something that we try to share with family members. You know, there's a book out that says sex begins in the kitchen.
Yes.
Right, and that's the point that is being made. When there is emotional connection, when there's emotional closeness outside of the bedroom, then sexual intimacy inside the bedroom becomes natural. And so then the question is, what are some of the things that we do to build intimacy outside the bedroom, to build emotional intimacy? And again, when we use the word intimacy, we're talking, how do we build cohesion, emotional cohesion? How do we build emotional togetherness? So key to intimacy, you're going to hear this word coming over, together. One of the challenges that we are facing in this modern and postmodern society is that more and more family members are spending less and less time together.
Yes.
It is really crazy, right? If you were to study the societies back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, when they were basically agricultural based society, more people would spend much more time together than we are now. And we felt that in a high-tech world, where you can do everything from home, for example, right? Right? So many people are working from home, right? But still not spending time together. And I think we have lost sight of the value of that, and we have gotten ourselves immersed in the work and activities and have sacrificed the quality time together.
Yes.
And so because there's less intimacy outside the bedroom, we're now finding challenges inside the bedroom. So if you're nodding your head, go ahead.
Yes, that is so true. We are in the same area, we are in the same locale, we're at home, but we're in separate areas of the home doing different things, and that creates a disconnect.
Yeah.
And so when it comes time to have that romantic sexual intimacy, you can have a challenge because the stage is not set for that natural progression to take place.
Exactly.
And what are some of the things that we can do to make the sexual intimacy in our relationships more spontaneous, more natural?
So let's start outside of the bedroom so that these things will affect or effect some positive changes in the bedroom. And they are very simple. So if there's anybody listening out there, some very, very simple things. Number one, again, the theme is going to be together. At home, do chores together.
What?
See, key.
Yeah.
Do chores together.
Yeah.
But that's a woman's work.
You see, no? What if the husband joins in some of the chores that the wife normally does? Can you see the beauty of that? If we do chores together, if we are laundering together, or we are pressing together, or we're cooking together, okay? Rather than say, okay, you do that and I do that. When we start to do things together, it builds that chemistry that is there among us. So at home, that's one thing. If the husband is cutting the lawn, yeah, and the wife takes the rake and rakes up while he's cutting. You see how that you're spending quality time together.
And they're not spending money.
Very good. I've seen husband and wife washing the same car together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's something that we have lost touch with, and this is something that can work very, very well. It is almost it is therapeutic in its sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it builds relation. You talk, you laugh, you interact.
It
Yes,
fosters communication.
it fosters communication. So you're building up even for later in the bedroom, if that be the case, because you have set the foundation.
And you feel appreciated.
That's correct.
If my car needs washing and my husband comes and helps me with that, it tells me he really cares.
Yes.
He wants to see me looking good on the road,
Yes.
and that is such a huge thing for me. It creates such a great impact on how I think about him,
Yep.
how I then learn to value and appreciate him, and that fosters the respect in return that he wants.
That's correct. That's great.
It's a win-win.
I like the word respect to use here.
Yes, because then I'm not cussing.
Yeah.
I'm saying, what a worthless man.
Yeah.
You mean to say I'm out here in the hot sun slaving over the car and he's sitting in the house
Yeah,
watching TV?
that's correct.
And not even realizing that he could come and help me?
It is of
So,
extreme value, emotional value, if we were able to begin to do these chores together, as simple as you make it.
But you just said something, Sophia, that I'm just listening and I'm just trying to hear it from the other side.
Yes,
A man out there washing his car,
yes.
and the woman comes out and helps him.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So it likewise
I
it
think
shows
I
that
think
she
that
cares.
I think that even feels better
Than the other way around.
than the other way around because it's not expected.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just like how it's not totally expected to see the man coming to help you do the laundry.
right.
Or
So-
to wash the dishes.
Yeah.
So you begin to see the value, right? The intimate value that is in things like doing simple things like chores
Right.
together. Here's another one that I keep stressing this over and over. Eating together. Having your meals together is critical in generating that level of warmth and that level of bonding
And that bonding is huge.
and the bonding is huge
And not just for the husband and wife, but for the children.
for the children as well. Yes,
Yes.
yes, especially for the children.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you're talking about building emotional intimacy with your children, eating together doesn't cost you anything. Yeah. At home, when we provide the meals, provide it in such a way and at such a time that the family can eat together. Our families are falling apart, right? Not necessarily because we are bad people. It is because these critical elements are being deteriorated.
Yes.
So the lifestyle that we live, in which we have to get up and rush here and rush there, and throw the children in the back seat of the car and stop at Wendy's and pick up something and give them in the back seat and pack a lunch and send them up. That is the lifestyle that we have, and we think that's good lifestyle compared to our grandparents, who we would wake up and everybody goes to the table and eat their breakfast and then they go off to school. We are living in a very crazy lifestyle, and because we drive a more expensive car and we live in more expensive houses and we have more money
Neighborhoods.
in the neighborhood, we think we are living well. No, we are not. The quality of our life, is substandard. Because and that's why we're having so many broken homes and failed marriages and adverse behavior in our children.
Yes.
Yeah, this is a cry coming out of our schools. The level of the unbelievable, incredible level of unwanted behaviors in our children, and again because the whole value system of the family is deteriorated, and it is deteriorating because we've moved away from some of these critical practices, habits in the family that keeps the family together. And one of them is eating together.
Yes. And when was the last time you asked your child, how was your day at school today?
Right.
And having meals together create that opportunity for you to check in with each
Precisely.
other. They can
Precisely.
do the same for you as parents. So,
Precisely.
Mom, how was your day? Dad, how was your day?
Yeah.
And that connection is priceless, because not only do you get to hear about what's happening with them, you get to problem solve
Yes.
and be able to teach them these critical life skills so that they can cope better and seek help
Yes.
if we need to seek help.
Very good point. Very good. And that's what a meal around the table provides. See,
Yes.
and I'm hoping that this is driving home. It's not just meals on the table, all right? Because you can put your meal, you can put the food in a container and go somewhere, go eat.
Yes.
When it is placed on the table, and we all sit around the table, it provides not just eating anymore, but it provides that exchange of thoughts, that checking in that you're talking about.
Yes.
You get to understand what's happening in their life. It's bonding. It's intimacy. It is bonding. And this is one of the things that is really, really lacking in many of the homes. Breakfast is not eaten together. Dinner is not eaten together. Lunch, well, normally the kids are at school
Right.
and people are at work. So even here in the Cayman, even among the adults, it is okay and would be good if husband and wife work in Georgetown, for example, and lunchtime come, you can pick up lunch and you guys, go together. And, when people are in love, boyfriend and girlfriend, that's what they do, right?
Yes.
It's amazing. They'll pick up their lunch and they go together somewhere out at the airport park or by the sea or something, and they eat and they talk and they go back to their workplaces.
Yes.
But suddenly when you get married, all of that stuff come to an...
The priorities change.
The priorities
now
change.
it's working to provide for my
Yeah.
family.
And so
That can be detrimental.
it is. So we lose some of those intimate moments. That's what we're talking about. So that's something I would strongly recommend that people move back to. Not just people with parents with children, but even married couples who have no children.
Yes.
The idea of eating together. Here again is another. I think that something that has jumped in my mind.
There's a question that came in.
Yeah.
But continue.
Yeah, let me just make this point. Something that has jumped in my mind. Most people, when they are dating, one of the venues or options that they will choose to take their date out is a restaurant.
Yes.
Right? If you have not taken out your date on a dinner, for example, it appears as if it would feel as if you have never started dating as yet.
Right.
Yeah, because taking your date on a dinner is substantial. Why? Right? Have you ever wondered why dinners play such a, or even lunch, why food plays such a critical role in the love building process? Yeah, apply that to home. All right, apply that to home, and you'll see the value of having a conversation over a meal. That's what business people do, for example, when they're striking deals, right? They take their folks out for lunch. And at lunch, they strike their deals and make proposals and all that kind of stuff. So there's something about food that encourages intimacy, that encourages bondness, that encourages closeness.
That connection.
Yeah, that
yes.
connection that is there. So cook more food and have more dinner and eat together as part of the building up of the intimacy outside the bedroom. Yes, Sir Dwayne.
So this scholar called in, and he said, well, I guess, in some instances, like if you're going into a car, you should just envision a man going to the car, getting ready for work, going into a car. The man will just go into the car and just drive off. Well, if you see the woman going to the same car, she's probably going with 5 bags.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So he's saying, you both in the kitchen, and he says for the man would use one knife and wash it and put it back, but the woman would use everything in the dishwasher. How do you deal with that?
Okay, and so what is necessary for that person to understand? Yeah, and it's not just the woman per se. It's not necessarily a sex-based behavior.
Yeah.
It could be also a personality
Yes.
expression, right? So what needs to happen is for that person to understand, okay, this is how this person functions. This is how that's what gives them comfort level. And so make allowance for it.
Yeah.
Yes, accommodate how that person functions. Because if you don't, then what's going to happen inside the kitchen is tension.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? And you don't want attention. You don't want tension in the kitchen. You want it to be a happy moment. So it's the very same thing doing that. You're two persons in the kitchen. There's one, as soon as they use a cup, they'll rinse it out and put it away. The other person will use the cup and put it on the counter. And then if you don't have tolerance for that, then right, then it can easily turn into something negative. So you have to. There are other people who are there cooking. They mess up the whole place,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
You know, the flour mess here. And
I tell you
here.
something. I shared this experience probably about 100 times on this radio before. I was working in the bank. I think this time I was at Red Bay, and my colleagues just she was talking to another colleague, and she was saying, you know, I don't know what about these men. When they go to use the face basin just to brush your teeth or to wash your face, it looked like they bathed the whole bathroom. Everywhere wet up. Right? And I kept silent. But it turns out that the next morning when I was in the bathroom, I realized that I wetted the whole place.
That was you.
Right. No, Kate had never said anything to me about that. But you know what? It was when I looked at the other side of the face basin. Hers was the top was always shiny and clean.
Yeah.
Everything was just clean and whatever. And I was like, that's what my colleague was talking about.
Yeah.
And so every time when I finish using the bathroom, I remember that, and I make sure, and I'm sure I got some brownie points.
and that's how it works, and that's how it's supposed to work.
Yeah.
Again, because we're saying it's not. It is more a personality type. There's some personalities that are very conscious
Yes.
about their environment, right? They're very conscious about their environment.
Yes.
They're very neat.
Yeah.
And they're particular about how things are done, and you use them and you put them away. There are others who are not stressed over it. You can just leave things as they are. We'll fix it up a little later. If you marry to somebody with different personality types, or you have to make allowance
Yes. Yes.
and accommodate.
Very important.
Yes, you have to. You can remind them and encourage them, but you have to make allowance. Because if you don't, you're going to continue to fight against each other, and that's not helpful when it comes to intimacy.
Is very, very important, and I would say to the caller, sometimes you might have gone into a relationship, and you might have gone into and you got some counseling, but depending on who you get the counseling from, they might not have seen some areas that they should talk about, right? And not that they're bad. And so you might go into a relationship with a mindset, with a mindset. But a lot of people go into marriage with a single mindset, like two different compartments. This is me, this is who I am. Human beings can be selfish, and she needs to please me, or she needs to see things my way. You understand? And if she doesn't, without you even trying to see things her way, you will have a problem.
Yeah, and it is not healthy.
Yes.
Relationship-wise, to enter into a relationship expecting to have your way at all times.
Yes.
Because relationships suggest that we're going to negotiate, all right? There are a number of areas that we will have to negotiate. Relationship is not based on domination. It's based on negotiation and compromise. That's the point. Give and take.
Yes.
Give and take until we come to an amicable solution. So couples who are able to negotiate and to compromise and to give and take until they reach a situation where that is workable, they'll do well. When we have a situation where somebody says it's hard and fast and this is non-negotiable, I ain't going there, then you're going to have a problem.
Yes.
So and it's hard to build intimacy. Come back to that subject. It's hard to build intimacy with somebody like that.
Yes.
Right? Because there's no way you can feel emotionally connected to somebody who thinks you're wrong all the time.
Yes.
And somebody who thinks, negative of you all the time, which comes to my next point in terms of building intimacy, and that is communication.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very important.
We talk about doing chores together, we talk about eating together, but communication, there's hardly anything that builds intimacy more effectively than quality of communication.
And that's what the first two scenarios lend to.
Exactly. When we can take it from the back end, and that is when communication breaks down, everything falls. Right? Intimacy cannot continue when communication breaks down, because communication drives intimacy. Right? Drives intimacy, particularly for women.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, particularly for women. For men, not necessarily so, but particularly for women, the ability to be able to talk. And so the things, how do we build those, how does communication work? Is not just talk, it is what we are saying.
Well, I can tell you something else.
Yes.
It's also listening.
It's also listening, yes. That's part of communication.
Women want to be heard.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes your best mode of communication is to listen.
Yeah.
So let them feel, let them know that you value what they're saying. Don't pretend like you're listening.
And respond.
And respond.
Yes, because you could be listening and you're quiet and
Yes,
I'm saying,
yes.
you're not hearing me?
Yes.
I need to acknowledge, you need to acknowledge that you're hearing.
Yes.
Well, there's a difference between hearing and listening.
Yes.
Yes.
Total
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah. And the key word you use here is listening.
Yes.
And because when you're able to communicate and know that the other person listen to what you're saying, and you have an understanding that, okay, yes, the other person gets it, it does, again, build that cohesion.
Validates
Yes.
you.
That validates you. That is very important.
Mhm.
So communication is critical, very, very critical. And again, this is one of the reasons why relationships fail. When you peel off some of the issues there, it is a failure in communication. We stop communicate for whatever the reason is. And there's no way we can be close, emotionally close, sexually close, if we're not communicating.
Doc,
Yeah.
I just want to ask two questions, look at the two scenarios that we have brought up before. So, eating together, and we talked about having that meal at the table. What if I live in East End and I have to get into Georgetown? So I have to beat the traffic. The kids need to get in for school. We need to eat still, but we don't have a table. How do we navigate that? And I've seen that being successfully navigated without a table.
Mm-hmm.
And it can simply be just turning off whatever devices and the radio and communicating in the car
Right.
while we're commuting.
Right.
So even though we don't have a table, the whole thing is still achieved. The communication, the bonding, the checking in, the emotional connection is being achieved because we are simply using the car as the new location
Yes.
for that to take
Mhm.
place. So it's not impossible, even if you have to leave out at 5:30 to get into town with the children for getting to school. So I just want you to bear that in mind.
Just spread the table.
Yes.
That's a very good point. Yes, because the idea is that we are together.
Yes.
Together.
We are sharing a meal together. It could be under a tree, it could be in the car, it could be somewhere, wherever it is, and we are having that conversation going. And I've always said, children tend to talk quite a lot when their bellies are full.
Yes.
Yeah, they share. Right? When you give them food, they tend to talk a lot, and that's when you interact with them. That's part one. Part two, over the weekend when you're not rushing to work,
Right.
maximize those meals at
Yes.
home. Yes, maximize. What is also good is bringing, depending on the age of the child, bring the child in the kitchen and help them let the child help you prepare the meal,
Yes,
right? So you're doing 2 or 3 things at the same time. You're teaching them how to cook,
Yes.
all right? How to put a
Life
meal together.
skills.
Life skills, right? You're building the relationship, emotional connection, yes,
Bonding,
and the
yes.
bonding going on together and conversation going on even as we
Right.
talk. And when the meal is finished, the child will feel proud that they also be part of
Yes.
cooking, yeah?
And you're modeling for them
And you're
what their
mod-
family should look like in the future.
Exactly. You're modeling for them, right? You're setting a template. You see how valuable this is? It's
Definitely.
extremely valuable.
You know, our society and work, especially here in Cape Man, has challenged that a lot.
Yeah.
Dwayne and I had a similar challenge yesterday, deciding whether to go to work yesterday or stay home.
Yeah.
So it's real.
It's a real
It
challenge.
challenges that. For example, in my scenario, in my situation, the kids get off school at 3:30, they're about latest at 4 o'clock. Katie doesn't get off work until 5:30. But the kids went to school from 7 o'clock in the morning. They look forward to eating their meal as soon as they get in.
Yes.
Right? It gets more exciting because as I get in the car, what did you cook?
Mm-hmm.
That makes me feel good. and at the end of that, after they eat, like each day challenges me because I look forward to hearing said you're the best in the world.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. And what that does, Dwayne, that sets up a template
Yes.
for who their life partner is going to be
Yes.
because they're
Yes.
using that as a measure.
Yes.
You understand? That's huge seed you're planting,
Yes.
right? So this point that we're discussing is very, very, very important.
But listen now, Chick. Listen how we incorporate Katie even though she's at work. We'll call.
Yeah.
We'll call at dinner time and Seth will excitingly say, Mom, Dad made this and
Yes.
whatever. But she doesn't normally eat in the afternoons. And so she would say, or say something for me and I'll have it for breakfast in the morning. So we still have that communication during that time.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
Right.
beautiful.
Yeah.
The other piece of the communication is what we talk about, right? So if all we talk about is the CUC bills and the rent and the politics,
And who's not earning enough?
who's not earning enough, yeah, that is okay, but that's not what's going to really pull us together emotionally, intimately, right? Is when we begin to talk about us.
Yes.
When we talk about what's happening to us, when we talk about
How was school today? How was work
yes,
today?
yes. How did things go with us? What's happening? Did we get through with our plans, our projections, what we see in the future? Or we start to plan for ourselves, plan for our kids, plan for the future. When we go deep into family matters, that the subject matter, the content of the discussion
Yeah.
is very strategic in getting emotional bonding together.
Yes.
So, for example, we will say to individuals who have, this is a good example. When you have marital problems, when you're experiencing marital problems, you have to be very careful who you talk with, who you talk about those problems with. Many people end up in extramarital affairs by simply sharing their marital problems with another person. Now, if they were talking to the other person about CUC bills,
They would
politics,
they would pay the bill.
they would never be in an extramarital relationship, right? Because think about that. You have friends that you talk about these casual stuff, mundane stuff. That will not bring intimacy.
Yeah.
But the minute you begin to discuss your personal problem that you're having with your spouse,
It starts with empathy.
yes, yes, sir, you're dealing with a subject matter that touches the heart.
Yes.
And so before long, that person begins to feel what you're feeling, empathize with you, and emotionally connect with you. And you get that emotional support, which feels good. And that causes you to share more and more and more and more and more. And then this is the only person that really cares about it. It's the only person that really understands you. And you're sucked into that relationship. That's what I'm talking about. That when it comes to building intimacy in the family, what we say, the content of our communication is critical towards building intimacy, right? So you can talk for 2 hours and nothing happens, right? Because we're not talking on subject matters that pull the two hearts together. So it is okay when wife and husband talks, yes, but make sure we talk about stuff, emotional stuff, us stuff, family stuff. What are plans for the children? What is it that we plan to do? What is affecting me from what is not affecting me? That kind of stuff. So,
And how do we work together to solve these
and how do we
challenges that
exactly?
come
And
up?
how do we work?
Yes, because if
What's
you
the idea?
feel
What's the
like
solution?
you do talk about the challenges, you do talk heart to heart, but there's no solution.
Right.
There's no coming together to tackle the problem together.
Yeah.
Then you tend to feel isolated and alone.
Yeah.
And then that's not achieved. It's the opposite of what we're hoping to
Very good
have
point.
done.
Yes. Yes.
You know?
Yes.
So that willingness to listen, as Dwayne said, to actively listen, they call it active listening. So
Yep.
you ask clarifying questions and you say your and you nod your head and you look eye contact and you
You're not on your phone.
engage with the person. You're not on the
You
phone
put
and
your
you're not
phone
watching
away.
TV.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So important.
There's also something else, Dr. Connor. When you said be mindful of who you speak to, you might be having a problem and you have shared it with someone, and you didn't go back and share how it was resolved. That person has that impression
Yeah.
of your partner for
Yeah.
the rest of their life.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, you didn't go back and,
You didn't go back and
yes.
say it was fixed.
Said it was great.
Most of the times,
Yes.
pride is what
Yes.
prevents you from going back and
Yes.
say that.
Yes. Yes.
Especially if you were wrong.
Yes. Yeah, if you're joining us, we're dealing with family matters. We're looking at intimacy in the family. And of course, if you want to make contact, you want to call us, Dwayne has the number.
945-9029. That's 945-9029. Or you can send me a WhatsApp at 345-517-1122. That's 517-1122. We take a quick break and be back.
Okay, good.
Clarity Entertainment presents Tribute to Mothers, Sunday, May 11th at 6:30 p.m. at Cayman Academy School Ground, 211 Walkers Road, Georgetown. Tribute to Mothers, the annual Mother's Day concert featuring The Anointed Sean Warren, Flavia Beswick, Sheldon Hilton, and Marites Parada. Admission $25 pre-sold, $30 at the gate. VIP $50, children under 16 $10. Treat your mother to an event of joy. Tickets available at Cayman Islands Conference Office, Funky Tangs, and Cayman Academy. Proceeds in aid of Cayman Academy School.
Strike Zone House of Fun, Grand Cayman's only laser tag arena, invites everyone to an unforgettable experience where the entire family can enjoy alcohol-free, fun-filled time. Let Strike Zone House of Fun host your next birthday party, corporate event, fundraiser, church, school, and social events. We are located in Cannon Place, North Sound Road, units 224 to 227. Join our global membership program, create your own game ID, and earn bonus points as we get ready for league and challenges. For more information, visit our website, StrikeZoneLaserTag.com.
Are you looking for real talk on love, marriage, parenting, and relationships? Join us every Thursday morning at 8 a.m. for Family Matters, a brand new show on Praise 87.9 FM. Hosted by Dwayne Uter, alongside Dr. Cheyenne O'Connor, a licensed clinical psychologist and relationship expert, we'll tackle the real issues that families face. Straight talk, expert advice, and live call-ins. Got questions? We've got answers. Tune in and let's build stronger families together. Family Matters, this and every Thursday on Praise 87.9 FM.
We're back on Family Matters, and remember the numbers to call 945-9029, or you can send us WhatsApp at 517-1122. We're talking about intimacy in the family, Dr. Cheyenne O'Connor. And I'm sure most times when people think of just intimacy, it's just wife and husband. But there's also, in families, there are kids as well.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I'm sure they need some level of intimacy.
That is that is very much so. That is extremely important, and we're living in an age where more and more we're seeing a kind of disconnect between children and their parents, especially since the introduction of video games.
Yeah.
That has exploded. That exploded on the market. So many children are now invested in video games. They go home, they go to their room, they're locked down for the entire evening.
Or they're in the same room.
Or they're in the same room.
in
they
their
just,
compartment.
yeah, they're not interacting at all. They may come out and grab a little bite and go back hours. And so we have lost that touch. So Sophie, this is very much in your era of speciality. What can families do to build that cohesion and emotional connection, that intimacy between them and children? What are some of the things that they can do?
Absolutely, and we're having more and more concerns about that. Many parents have reached out, and what we want to say first is to acknowledge that there is a disconnect. There's a need to create that intimacy with your child or children and make that known. So don't just have it in your head and you're working towards that goal, but voice that with the child or children so that they know of your concern. And then you want to take responsibility for your part in that disconnect. So you're going to share that as well. And that will open up your child or your children to the fact that, hey, something is really amiss. Because for most of them, they don't see anything wrong with it.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
it's normal for them and their peers to just seclude themselves and just do what they feel like doing. I mean, it's been hard work at school, and just like how you want to relax and disconnect, they also feel the need for that. But we need to educate them that just locking yourself away with the video game or the device is not healthy. And so we want to redirect that energy in a more healthier way. And that means connecting with us, the parents, your siblings, so that you can build, that safe environment for emotional connections. We want to let them know that they have a safe space for that to happen. Because a lot of times there are insecurities, there are uncertainties, especially during the teenage years. They're trying to find themselves and they have certain doubts and insecurities that creep in. So you want to let them know, hey, this is a safe space for you to be yourself. Talk about the expectations. How will we interact?
Right.
And then you want to create opportunities for that interaction to take place. So you're talking again about having meals together, going out for dinner, putting it at a time, because you might have adult children who are still at home, or you want to reconnect with, they're no longer living with you, but you want to keep that bond going. And so you put it at a time when everybody is available. You don't just demand that they show up at your time. So
Negotiate again.
Yes, there again, the negotiation and compromise.
Yes.
And you want to be able to start small, because a lot of times we want it and we want it now, but that's not how emotional stuff go. That's not how it works. We have to be willing to wait, be patient, because trust takes time. And so just do continue to be that reliable, dependable parent or parents that they can turn to, make it known, verbalize it. Hey, I'm here for you. If there are any challenges that you're going through, I'm here to listen and to support in the best way I can.
Because this is a growing. It's almost a pandemic.
Yes.
No, I'm serious. This is
Yes,
a
yes,
huge growing issue for many parents. Trying to and one of the challenges that parents are having is that they don't know how to deal with it because they never had that challenge when they were children, right? And that is, how do we balance my child's
So
desire or to play a game as against family time, as against study time, as against, because this is where a lot of pushback of the
Yes.
children comes back, and some of them become very disrespectful and angry, and we see the tantrums and we see the
defiance,
the
yes.
defiance, and it's all coming out of video games. You're taking my games away. You're taking my games away. And
when we were younger, or when I was younger, games was just straight foolishness.
Yeah.
They were just games. They were just games for fun. But
You mean like the Dandy Shandy and so?
no,
you mean?
no, no.
Oh,
Whatever video game.
Video
it
games,
was.
okay.
It was just.
We never had access to them.
Yeah, man. We had
you were in the cities here, so you.
There-
But
or
you must-
you would
to
see
them.
somebody with them, and then you would peep over their
Yeah.
shoulder, right? What they call
Oh, you mean
Pac-Man
yes,
and
yes,
those kind of
those,
stuff, right?
yes,
Right?
yes.
But don't take it that all the games that are there are not educational,
Yeah.
because I find that kids who are doing all of these games and stuff still doing well at school.
Yeah, but even if they're educational,
Hold on.
yes.
They're still doing well at school. So what I do as a parent is I know that, well, this is their language. And that's one of the things that we have to understand.
Mhm.
This is their language.
Mhm.
If the baby just born, they'll understand your phone more than you.
Hmm.
Right? So what I do is I understand that this is their language, and I try not to let them speak in my language, because it's a total different area. So I will be on my device as well, and when I find stuff that are funny enough but educational enough to share with them, I'll call them and say, look at this, so they could understand that I find fun in the things that they do.
And that is fine. That is quite okay, because there are times when the parent even join them in playing
Yeah,
games.
it's
right? You may
very
play- you may play
very
against a child.
important,
Yes.
because it keeps the bond.
Yes.
So when you're talking to them, they don't see you as this boring person
Yes.
who they
They can't relate to.
can't relate
Yes,
to.
yes, yes, yes.
You understand? And they're safer because they now will also share things with you.
Yes. That is wise to do.
Yes.
If you can identify their games and play the
Yes,
games
yes.
with them, that is wise to do.
It's very important
Yeah.
that you do that. It's critical.
I agree with you. The challenge is when they don't have any boundaries. The challenge when there's no limit. The
No,
challenge
they have
is
to have boundaries.
yes.
Right.
And the
That's
question
the
is,
challenge.
how do you as a parent, you as a parent will have to step in and set. But I think maybe we should have a whole program dealing with how modern parents relate to these challenges that they're facing. Terms of, because you see that coming up over and over and
Very
over and
much
over.
so, yes.
It would be how do we help them to manage the introduction of games into the lives of the children? In some cases, really, when you mentioned some children who tend to do well, and that,
But not all.
but
Yeah.
not all.
Yeah.
One reason could be the type of parenting that they have
Yeah.
to ensure
Yeah.
that schoolwork still goes on.
Because whichever child will trade school.
Yes, precisely.
Whichever child.
But what we've seen in other cases is where the child has no more desire in schoolwork and just want to play game. And the issue for the parent is, how do I balance? How do I strike a balance, and so that my child don't think I don't like them anymore, because the response of the child is going to be, I don't like you, you don't like me, you're the worst mom, and people get offended and affected by that. So that's a big issue. And I think it's an area where many of these games are sucking out
And you can't wait too
the
late.
intimacy. Huh?
You can't
It
wait too
starts
late.
early.
It starts
You
very
can't wait.
early.
You
Yes.
have to put the measures in place from day
Absolutely.
one
Yep.
Yes.
and stick by them.
And
Yes.
consistency is critical.
For example,
Definitely.
my kids have no screen time during the week.
Right, precisely.
So they will come to me with trades like that. Just like now we had midterm with Easter break. We have nothing going on in school now. We finish all our exams. We finish everything. Can I go on the screen? I said, if it's the weekend.
Yeah, it's a weekend. Yes, precisely. By the way, I was in Canada. I was in Toronto over the weekend. Oh, by the way, two things. There are folks in Toronto who have been listening to our program here, so they were able to pass on commendation. I'll pass on commendation to you, Dwayne, from some of your listeners in Toronto on this program. But I picked up a new terminology. It's called screenagers.
Sound funny.
There's a bunch of teenagers on your phone or at church.
Screenagers.
Yeah, and somebody refer to them. Another teenager walking and say, "Hey, screenagers." And I said, "Can I borrow that? Can I get your permission to use that?" It's an interesting one, screenagers, because they spend all their time
Yes.
on screens. And what that, coming to as we wrap up this session, what that does, it makes them isolated.
Antisocial.
Yes, antisocial, right? It robs them for that intimacy that we talk about in the
Right.
family, and this is something that needs to be addressed. So they become very isolated, very comfortable by themselves with their game, not interacting with the family, and that will go for years. They grow up in the house not interacting with the family.
Pastor, you know something that is very, very important. You would have known as a counselor that depression
Yes.
thrives in isolation.
Yes.
And so if they have that platform already
Yes.
where they're isolated, when they're depressed, you won't know. And you might just wake up thinking that you have a nice quiet daughter,
When they're actually in depression.
and then you go find her in the bathroom hanging
That's
herself.
correct. The statistics, the research is very strong on that, right? There's a correlation between the amount of screen time our children see and the level of depression and anxiety. There's a strong correlation there.
Absolutely.
That is there. Well-established research. There's no question about that. And that is one of the reasons why it has to be monitored. Let me, for example, I know we're running out of time, but let me bring back, Sophie mentioned a game that we used to play as kids, Dandy Shandy.
Yes.
Okay. If you ask any of our children right now, they don't know what Dandy Shandy is.
Yeah.
Because Dandy Shandy is a game that was very physically active, meaning
Yes.
one person up here and one person down here, and we
Yes.
throw balls.
Yes.
And there's one in the middle, and you throw
Or a
the ball,
group in the
or a group in
middle.
the middle, and you throw your ball to hit the person in the middle, and you're trying to
sight.
sight it out, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of activities, a lot of running up and down. It's cohesion. You
Yes.
bring in cohesion, you
yes.
bring in fun, you bring in activity,
Community, yeah.
Rapport.
as well as physical activities.
Yes.
Yes.
You pray that thing coming up, you get healthy and strong, emotional healthy, physical healthy.
Yes.
I can go down the list.
Reflex.
Socially
Socially good.
strong, yes.
Compared to me in my room, locked away with my phone for
Yes.
3, 4, 5 hours,
Losing your eyesight.
everything is bad about this.
Sedentary.
Huh?
Sedentary,
Exactly.
everything.
Sedentary. Everything is bad about it. Depressed, sedentary, some of the stuff that I may be seeing.
The
all right?
content,
The
yeah.
content. Everything is unhealthy about this.
And they're never hungry
True. Until it's
Isn't amazing?
until they say stop.
Yes.
Yes.
Because again, they are enjoying that part of the brain. The
Dopamine,
yes.
dopamine is flushing in their brain, which satisfy them. Sometimes you have to say, "Hey, come for your dinner," and then come for your 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times. Come for the
And
dinner.
they hurry up and eat.
Yeah.
Hurry up and eat.
And then run goes back.
And run go back.
This is an area that we probably need to look at, Sophie, and maybe we can plan a session on it to deal with, because it's an area that parents need help on.
So what I do, and because I know they get bored easily when they don't have these things to do.
Right.
They get bored very easily. So I make sure that I buy bicycles.
Mm-hmm.
I make sure that my son goes out and play with the boys.
Mm-hmm.
Be a boy.
Good.
Kick football.
Good.
Fall down.
That's
chip
correct.
your knee.
That's correct. That's correct. Rough and tumble.
Yes, be a boy.
Yes.
Be a strong man.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
I make sure that happens every day.
Yeah. That is healthy and wise. That is healthy and
Go
wise.
outside and play in the sun.
And for those parents who are having challenges currently and wondering what to do, reach out to us.
Yes.
We do parenting consultations, we do child and parent consultation, and we have the Peers Social Skills Program, which is very vital in helping to reintegrate them into the family and in the society at large.
Don't
So
take it for
there's help
granted.
available.
Don't take it for granted.
Exactly.
And if you're a married couple and you're finding challenges in building intimacy, reach out to us, the Institute for Essential Care. You can find us on the website at caymanessentialcare.com. That's caymanessentialcare.com. And you can get us at 325-7556 and
329-6554, 6554.
so we were talking about building intimacy in the family, and just recapping for you what we're saying, intimacy is much more than sexual intimacy. It's a wider perspective. We're talking about building emotional connectivity, emotional cohesion in the family between parents and children, between spouses. And we're saying if we have good intimate connection outside the bedroom, it will definitely help intimacy inside the bedroom. We look at some of the practical things you can do, such as doing chores together, very, very effective, eating together, having good, vibrant communication. We also look at how we can build intimacy with our children. And we'll be back next week as we look at other forms of intimacy. Spiritual intimacy is one, financial intimacy in the relationship. We'll be more than happy to do so next week when we're back as we do part 2 of building intimacy in the family right here at Praise 87.9.
And that has brought us to the end of Family Matters for this week, which also brings us to the end of Red Start for this morning. Be sure to join us again as we do it all over for you. Remember, log on to our CIC Media KY YouTube channel. If you haven't seen all of the program, to see all of what was discussed this morning, and archives of those that were in the past. Until then, walk good, and remember, take your mothers out. Take your mother, your baby mother, or your
Godmother.
Sisters.
grandmother, sister,
Mother-in-law, please.
and your father who mothered you to the Mother's Day concert the next week Sunday, Mother's Day at Cayman Academy. It's gonna be under the stars. Have a good day.
You know, once you start talking to people and you begin to fuse it and say, okay, you're right. All right, set that one aside. Let's talk about some other things on it. You can very often find some areas we do